Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into something uh, a bit unsettling.
Yeah.
The world of insurance scams in India.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got some pretty shocking stories and statistics from YouTube videos to unpack,
Uh-huh.
all with the goal of helping you guys stay informed and protect yourselves.
It is fascinating and disheartening
Oh, yeah.
at the same time.
Right.
Insurance is supposed to be like a safety net, right? A way to protect ourselves from financial hardship. But for many in India, it's becoming like a source of exploitation.
It is.
Yeah.
And what's really concerning is that these scams are becoming increasingly common
Yeah.
and more sophisticated.
Right.
So let's just start by understanding
Uh-huh.
what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
What are insurance scams exactly, and how are they being perpetrated?
Well, in simple terms, an insurance scam is any deceptive act intended to illegally obtain an insurance payout.
Right.
So it could involve faking accidents.
Inflating claims or even selling non-existent policies.
Wow.
What we're seeing now is a rise in scams that exploit loopholes
Okay.
and misleading information to take advantage of unsuspecting individuals.
Right.
Uh,
And one area where these scams are just rampant is medical insurance,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is really concerning
Yeah,
given the rising healthcare costs in India.
totally.
It's scary.
We watched a video by Gaurav Thakur,
Hmm.
and it paints a pretty bleak picture of the medical crisis unfolding in India.
Yeah.
He points out that medical inflation is through the roof,
Up.
with the average cost of treating illnesses like dengue or typhoid reaching a staggering 20 lakhs.
Wow.
That's 2 million rupees.
That's a lot.
And in metropolitan cities like Mumbai, that number can skyrocket to over 1 crore.
Gosh.
Crazy.
Those numbers are truly alarming.
Yeah,
It's not just the high cost of treatment.
yeah.
It's also the projection that these costs could actually double in the next 5 years. Exactly. So you can imagine the financial strain this is putting on millions of Indians,
Right.
forcing many into poverty just to afford essential health care.
Yeah,
It's a desperate situation.
yeah.
That makes reliable health insurance seem like a lifeline.
Right. You would think so.
You would think.
But unfortunately, even health insurance is becoming a breeding ground for scams.
Thakur's video highlights a really shocking statistic.
Mhm.
A whopping 68% of Indians are underinsured.
Wow.
This means their policies don't actually cover what they believe they do,
Right.
leaving them vulnerable to immense financial burdens when they need medical care the most.
We saw some really heartbreaking examples of this
Yeah.
in the videos from Insurance Angels and Story for Everyone,
Uh-huh.
where people are discovering after hospitalization that their policies have all sorts of hidden clauses and loopholes,
Right.
leaving them with unexpected bills they can't afford.
It's a classic bait and switch tactic.
Oh, wow.
They lure people in with promises of comprehensive coverage, then hit them with exclusions and limitations when they try to make a claim.
So, for example, some policies only cover cashless treatment at specific hospitals
Yeah.
within their network,
Right.
which can severely restrict your options.
Yeah.
Especially during an emergency.
And even within those network hospitals,
Yeah.
certain expenses,
Oh, okay.
like pharmacy costs, might not be fully covered.
Right.
So you end up with a hefty bill even though you thought you were insured?
There was a really shocking example in Thakur's video about hospitals in Ahmedabad accusing 2 major insurance companies of denying claims for an essential medicine
Mm-hmm.
simply by categorizing it as unspecified.
That's just one tactic they use.
Right.
Another common scam involves pre-existing conditions.
Right. Many policies claim to cover pre-existing illnesses,
Yeah.
which sounds great in theory,
Yeah, in theory.
but
But they often come with incredibly long waiting periods.
right.
Sometimes up to 4 years. So if you need treatment for an existing illness within that time frame, you're essentially on your own.
It's like they're offering coverage that's practically useless when you need it the most.
It's crucial to be aware of these tactics because they prey on people's anxieties and desperation.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to their health and financial well-being.
So how do we protect ourselves from falling victim to these scams?
That's exactly what we're going to dive into next.
Okay.
We'll unmask some more of these common insurance scams,
Yeah.
breaking down the tactics they use
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
loopholes they exploit.
Okay.
Knowledge is power, so let's arm ourselves with the information we need to make informed decisions about our insurance coverage.
I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty of this.
Yeah,
Let's expose these scams and empower our listeners to protect themselves.
let's do it.
Okay, so we've talked about network hospitals and pre-existing conditions.
Right.
What other sneaky tactics should our listeners be aware of?
Well, there's this thing called room rent caps, which can be particularly deceptive.
Room rent caps. What are those?
Essentially, your policy might limit how much they'll cover for your hospital room charges.
Oh.
So even if you have what seems like a large overall coverage amount, you could still end up paying a significant portion of the bill out of pocket if you need a private room or a higher level of care.
So it's like a hidden ceiling on your coverage.
Exactly. And what's shocking is that many people aren't even aware of these caps until they get hit with a massive bill.
Oh, gosh.
One of the videos we watched mentioned that 23% of policyholders had no clue about this limitation, only discovering it after receiving their hospital bills.
That's a scary thought. You think you're covered and then, bam, you're stuck with unexpected expenses.
It's a common tactic used to minimize payouts.
Wow.
And it's not just room rent they target.
Oh, really?
There are also hidden costs related to pre- and post-hospitalization charges.
What do you mean by pre- and post-hospitalization charges?
Think about all the essential tests and medications you might need before and after a hospital stay. Things like CT scans, X-rays, MRIs, and even prescription drugs.
Right.
These are crucial for diagnosis and recovery, but some policies either exclude them completely or offer very limited coverage.
We learned from one of the videos that on average, patients in India spend a whopping 27.4% of their total medical expenses on medications alone.
Yeah.
So if your policy skimps on medication coverage, you're looking at a huge financial burden.
It's a classic example of death by a thousand cuts.
Oh, wow.
They lure you in with a seemingly comprehensive policy,
Right.
but then they chip away at your coverage with all these little exclusions and limitations,
Oh, man.
leaving you vulnerable when you need it most.
It all sounds so predatory, like they're intentionally setting people up to fail.
And it doesn't stop there. Another sneaky tactic involves something called copays.
Copays, isn't that just a small percentage you agree to pay up front?
Yes, but that small percentage can quickly turn into a substantial sum when you're dealing with a large medical bill.
Go.
Your agent might entice you with a low premium, making it seem like a great deal.
But that copay can come back to bite you later,
Yeah.
especially if you require extensive treatment.
It's like a hidden fee disguised as a discount.
Precisely.
Wow.
And here's another one to watch out for: exclusions for daycare treatments.
Daycare treatments, what are those?
These are procedures that are becoming increasingly common thanks to advancements in medical technology.
All right.
Things like cataract surgery, dialysis, or even certain types of chemotherapy often don't require an overnight hospital stay.
And I'm guessing some insurance companies use that as an excuse to deny coverage.
You guessed it, they argue that these daycare treatments aren't real hospitalizations,
Oh, wow.
so they're not covered under the policy.
That's crazy.
It's a ludicrous distinction, especially given that these procedures are often medically necessary and can be quite expensive.
It seems like they're grasping at straws just to avoid paying out claims.
And to make matters worse, there are also these things called disease-wise sublimits.
Okay.
You might think you have a comprehensive policy with a high coverage amount.
But then you discover that there are caps on coverage for specific illnesses.
So if you develop a heart condition, for example,
Right.
your policy might only cover a fraction of the actual treatment costs.
Exactly. It's like having a safety net with giant holes in it.
Yeah.
One of the videos highlighted a case where a person with a 10 lakh insurance policy was shocked to discover their coverage for heart-related illnesses was capped at a mere 1 lakh.
Oh, gosh.
They ended up having to pay a huge amount out of pocket despite being insured.
These sublimits sound incredibly deceptive.
Yeah.
How are people supposed to know about them?
They're often buried deep within the policy documents,
Okay.
making them easy to miss.
Yeah.
It's crucial to read the fine print carefully and understand exactly what's covered and, more importantly, what's not.
But let's be honest, insurance policies are notoriously complex and full of jargon.
Yeah.
We can be overwhelmed to decipher all the technical terms and conditions.
That's what the scammers are banking on.
Yeah.
They use confusion and intimidation to their advantage, knowing that many people will simply trust their agent's word without fully understanding the details.
So it sounds like we need to arm ourselves with knowledge and be extremely vigilant when dealing with insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But with all these scams and complexities, it can feel a bit daunting.
It's understandable to feel overwhelmed, but remember, knowledge is power.
Right.
By understanding these tactics, you can be a more informed consumer and make better decisions about your insurance coverage.
That's right. So let's move on to the next part of our discussion.
Yeah.
How can we actually protect ourselves from these scams?
Okay.
What steps can we take to navigate this tricky landscape with more confidence? So we've exposed a whole lot of shady tactics used in insurance scams.
They have.
But now comes the empowering part.
Yeah.
What can we actually do to protect ourselves?
First and foremost, do your research. Don't just jump at the first offer that comes your way.
That makes sense. Don't let those pushy salespeople pressure you into something you don't fully understand.
Exactly. Take your time, compare different policies from reputable companies, read reviews from other customers, and most importantly, read the fine print carefully.
Oh yes, the dreaded fine print. It's where all the sneaky details hide.
That's right. Don't be afraid to ask questions if something seems unclear or too good to be true. It probably is.
I've definitely learned that lesson the hard way before. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. And remember, you are in control.
Right.
Don't let anyone rush you into a decision you're not comfortable with.
It's our hard-earned money and our well-being at stake.
Yeah.
We need to be assertive and protect our interests.
Here's another tip. Beware of promises of high returns or guaranteed benefits.
Okay.
Those are often red flags for scams.
So if an agent starts throwing around phrases like guaranteed returns or risk-free investment,
Right.
that's a sign to proceed with caution.
Definitely legitimate insurance policies don't offer guaranteed returns. They're about protection, not investment.
That's a good point to remember. Insurance is about mitigating risk, not making a quick buck.
And if you encounter an agent who's being evasive, pressuring you, or refusing to answer your questions clearly,
Yeah.
walk away.
Don't hesitate to walk away from a bad deal. There are plenty of reputable insurance providers out there.
Now let's talk about what to do if you believe you've been scammed or misled.
Okay, what are our options in that situation?
First, document everything. Keep records of all conversations, emails, policy documents, anything that can serve as evidence.
So basically create a paper trail, just in case things go wrong.
Exactly. And remember, you have rights as a consumer.
Yeah.
If you feel you've been treated unfairly, you can file a complaint with the insurance company itself.
And if that doesn't resolve the issue, there are regulatory bodies like IRDAI that we can reach out to, right?
Absolutely. IRDA plays a crucial role in overseeing the insurance industry and addressing consumer complaints.
So they're like the watchdog for the insurance sector.
Precisely. They have the power to investigate. Complaints take action against erring insurance companies and even offer compensation to policyholders who've been wronged.
It's empowering to know that we're not completely powerless in this situation. There are avenues for recourse and accountability.
That's right. We have the right to demand fair treatment, and we shouldn't hesitate to exercise those rights.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. It's amazing how many scams are out there and how sophisticated they've become.
It's a constant cat and mouse game. As scammers develop new tactics, we need to stay informed and vigilant.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Knowledge is power. By understanding how these scams work, we can protect ourselves and make more informed decisions.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Read the fine print. And if something seems off, trust your gut.
And remember, you're not alone in this fight. There are resources available, people who can help.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of insurance scams in India.
Yeah.
We hope you found it informative and empowering, and that you feel a bit more savvy about protecting yourselves out there.
Exactly.
Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.
Stay safe.